最近1个礼拜，全球都在哀悼伊丽莎白女王的过世。而在查尔斯国王继位之后呢，也出现了越来越多讨论英国王室存废的声音。女王她在位70年，这70年王室的声望起起落落，其中打击最深的是戴安娜王妃魂断巴黎的悲剧。那女王她在那个时候呢，也因为没有针对这个事件做出公开回应，招致她冷血的批评。但是女王仍然不断的努力，让王室成为英国人民心中的定海神针，维系社会的稳定力量。如今我们就来回顾女王她在任期内，她自己跟菲利普亲王的确尽到了英国王室的职责。
Thank you for having me. I do hope you're having a lovely jubilee. Tea? Perhaps you would like a marmalade sandwich. I always keep one for emergencies.
So do I. I keep mine in here.
登基70周年的白金禧庆典是由96岁的女王跟柏林顿熊拉开序幕。访问加拿大期间，总理杜鲁道说，他自己是女王在位70年间的第12位加拿大总理。
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister of Canada, for making me feel so old.
7大工业国组织高峰会的合照阳光明媚，但气氛很凝重。
Are you supposed to be looking as if you're enjoying it?
Yes, it would definitely.
The Queen's always been a rather unique figure to cover because she never gave an interview during her entire reign. She sometimes contributed to documentaries and provided some quite fascinating insights into the behind-the-scenes workings of the monarchy. So when you did see these sort of glimpses inside from perhaps private films that have been made available by the royals, it gave you a glimpse of a very different figure, much more of a family figure, a much more sense of fun that she was meant to have.
Well, I think the Queen is somebody who doesn't show her emotions very often. She has done it on occasion, but she has basically been the ultimate professional in a very difficult job for an awful long time.
沉稳冷静是女王一贯的态度，因为她就成长在欧洲最动荡的年代，时代教导她，王室是稳定人心最重要的力量之一。2次世界大战期间，王室一家不曾撤退避难，始终跟人民相守相依。
She was part of the wartime generation, and that's something that she was always very proud of, and I think always was very important to her. She served in the Second World War. She was in the Auxiliary Territorial Service. She reached the rank of junior commander by the time the war ended. And that type of service that she did, she very much was able to experience as much as is possible what other people would experience doing that service. It was not based on her position as a member of the royal family.
She was still an officer in the ATS on that joyful day when the war with Germany ended.
胜利的喜悦无法掩盖战后百废待兴的现实。1947年，当时还是公主的伊丽莎白大婚，首相丘吉尔说，这个喜讯为一片灰暗的英国增添了一道色彩。
Where many kings and queens have appeared, Princess Elizabeth happily shares the supreme day of her life with her countrymen.
He was one step behind her. And this was a man who could have had an absolutely stellar career in the Navy, gave up that job and supported the Queen for the next more than 70 years. And that in itself, I think, is a huge credit to him. I think he also saw himself as the eyes and ears of the Queen, feeding back information about places and people that the Queen herself wasn't able to visit.
You know, when he was travelling the world with the Queen, he would try to put people at ease all the time. And that really was his role, while she was busy doing things, he would oil the wheels.
两人73年的婚姻也象征着王室的保守跟稳定。然而，女王的4个儿女，婚姻一个比一个让人操烦。
It is announced from Buckingham Palace that, with regret, the Prince and Princess of Wales have decided to separate.
Highness, Your Highness, can you comment on reports about your house, please?
查尔斯王子跟戴安娜分开，安德鲁王子跟太太丑闻不断，长公主安妮更是有着自由不羁的私生活，王室声望持续下坠。
1992 is not a year on which I shall look back with undiluted pleasure. In the words of one of my more sympathetic correspondents, it has turned out to be an annus horribilis.
曾经，查尔斯王子的婚姻为王室注入了新的风景、新的活力。
Charles and Diana, now man and wife, move up to the high altar for the blessing.
The reason she matters is because she transformed the institution during her lifetime.
And she passed through that barrier, and that was a personal journey for her.
Diana talks openly about her relationship with the Prince of Wales, and saying effectively there was very little going on in this marriage, and in her view, because of his continuing relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles.
Tonight's accident is a terrible tragedy. The death of the Princess of Wales fills us all with deep shock and with deep grief.
Oh, Jesus! Oh!
But there were some moments that were very challenging for her. Princess Diana's death was one, and it's often looked back on and discussed as really one of the only times in her reign when her actions were really out of step with the sentiments of the public. This huge tragedy had happened and the public was feeling it very, very keenly, and it was a huge moment for the nation and indeed the world, but at the same time it was also a huge moment personally for her family and for her grandsons, and that's when we see the conflict really of her role as a grandmother and her role on the public stage. And
she was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness. I admired and respected her for her energy and commitment to others, and especially for her devotion to her two boys.
The death of the Princess of Wales was a most extraordinary period in British national life. I mean, for about a week it seemed as though the institution had been rocked to its foundations. I came in a year after that, and what was really interesting was that a year after that, actually what had happened is the Queen in particular and other members of the royal family had got back to doing what they do best, which is getting out, representing the monarchy, meeting people.
In terms of her legacy, she's continued to transform the institution through the figures of her two sons.
威廉以及哈利两位王子逐渐长大，代表王室出席更多的公开场合。一般人只工作到65岁，但女王跟菲利普亲王直到90多岁，平均每年仍然参加近300场活动。王室正视戴安娜的影响力跟民众的想念，举办更多纪念活动之外，新成员的加入，再加上女王登基的庆典活动，也为王室带来新气象。
At the moment, the Queen's popularity is as high as it's ever been since her coronation. So since 1952, we are having a massive surge of affection for the Queen.
The Duke and Duchess of Cambridge with their new little baby.
Time of the birth of Prince George 2 years ago, the Centre for Retail Research estimated that that birth would give us something like a £243 million boost to the UK economy. I think we can expect a similar sort of figure this time around.
然而，新成员的加入仍然有时让王室头痛。哈利王子的妻子梅根上节目控诉王室种族歧视，让他陷入犹豫。
I'd say I actually have sympathy for both sides. I think some of the statements were very uncomfortable. They were shocking to hear, but at the same time, I think there's always things are always more nuanced, and we don't know what the other side is saying.
There's two sides to every story. Okay, personally, I think she's not only having a pop at the royalty, she's having a pop at my country, and I don't like that.
So it's a challenge, but the royal family have faced far greater challenges in its existence. And although front pages are formulating with the hype that this is the greatest crisis to hit the royal family, that's tosh.
2021年对女王来说非常不平静，但最令她不舍的恐怕是菲利普亲王的离开。形单影只的女王没有被击垮。2022年，她登基70周年的白金禧年大庆，在英国政局动荡、俄乌战争导致物价高涨、疫情才刚刚稍退的情况之下，英国人依然为女王欢呼。
It's not about politics, it's not about anybody else, this is just all about the Queen. Someone who's been with me throughout my life. You know, when you're When you've been with somebody who's been a voice in your life for so long, they become a part of your life.
96岁的女王工作到最后一刻，彻底实现她在21岁时的承诺。
I declare before you all that my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be devoted to your service and to the service of our great imperial family to which we all belong.
And thank you for everything.
That's very kind.